Hi everyone, welcome to my studio. Diane here, hope everyone's well and happy. Today I'm going to be testing out and trying to do a painting with these new colours that I have just treated myself to. This is KURETAKE, who make also these, which as you can see is a well-used set of starry colours, which I really like those, and they're wonderful for all sorts of things. But I noticed these, I think it might be perhaps relatively new, this particular set. And what these are, they're graphite colours, and they have a special feature, which I'll tell you about later. But I've just quickly tried out some of them, and I know that we're going to have a mix of really nice, subdued, moody kind of colours. I haven't done anything with them other than just wet them and know that I don't need to soak them with water before I start painting. So that's a good thing. Now I'm going to be working on a piece of etcher paper. This is an etcher watercolor block. So that means that the paper is glued all the way around to create a block of paper. So it's kind of really stiff. And then when you paint on it, even if you use a lot of water, it doesn't cockle or buckle or bend or curl or anything. It stays completely flat, which means that you can actually use it without any preparation whatsoever. You don't need to stretch, you don't need to tape, you don't need anything. So that's good. And there's a corner here which is open so that you can slice off your sheet when you're done. And I use a paper knife here, and I just slide that in there, and then I go round cutting this sheet away from all the others. So that's always a nice satisfying thing to do when you've finished. Paper knife, or you could use a bone folder, or just an ordinary butter knife, table knife from the kitchen would do just perfectly fine. So that's that. Just give me 1 second while I just plug in my phone, which is going to play tricks on me again today if I'm not careful. So I need power. Power to the people. Right. Okay, now I'm going to use a number 8 brush, round nylon. This is a Drawwell Maestro, which is one little step up on the ones I usually use. I just thought I'd give this one a day out because it's getting bored sitting in the pot. Normally I use these Drawwell ones, the golden nylon, which are slightly more inexpensive than these, but they're both very reasonable. If you want to order them direct from Japan and you don't mind waiting a week or two while they come, you can get them for, even when you've paid the shipping, a very, very, competitive price. And I actually don't use anything else nowadays apart from Drawwell because they're just perfect. So let's sit down. Oh, I tell you what I wanted to also say. Somebody said the other day, nobody ever talks about boards on which to draw. And that's a good point. I have always on my table a piece of plywood. This is plywood. I've painted one side white and the other side is natural brown. I think it's got a coat of varnish on it. Every now and again I peel off the bits of washi tape that I've used to stick down the paper and give it another coat of white paint, because white, I should do that actually, I might do that today. White just looks better on the camera. Dirty white, not so good, but anyway. But it's just, I'm sure everybody has one. Something thicker than cardboard that you can put your paper on when you're not painting on a block. And even if you are, you want something around it to protect your table, don't you? So I thought I would mention that because somebody said on Facebook or somewhere that nobody ever said anything about boards. So I've said something now. So I'm going to do circles. The other day we did a design with gold circles. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that you can see that. And then I'm going to use my paper horizontally today, and I'm going to pick up each colour one at a time and do some nice circles across here. And then afterwards we'll embellish them with gold. I think that's what I'll do. But don't hold it against me if we don't. That's what I'm going to try. Okay, so I have a piece of paper here so I can test out these colours since it is the first time I've ever used them. And we're going to find that some of them are quite strong. So let's start using it fairly dilute. And if I change brushes, forgive me, but I'll see how this one goes, because my normal draw well I find actually very easy to draw circles with. So we'll see. Okay, so that's a kind of pinky brown, a kind of potter's pink kind of colour. And this one is a sludgy sort of olive green. I could see that these colours might be quite useful for foliage in paintings where you've got nice flowers, autumnal theme kind of thing, and you want to just have some really soft colours for leaves, which will complement the brightness of the flowers. This, for example, that's an excellent green for eucalyptus, isn't it? That's that kind of colour. I don't know what these names have, what names they've got. Let me see. Okay, that's graphite red. That's graphite yellow. This is graphite green. And this one's graphite blue. They're quite nice. They're painting okay. Blue. Next one is graphite violet. The gold ones, when you come to use the gold, you have to wet them ahead of time and give them a bit of a stir up, because they tend to go a bit dry. But this is not like that. Okay, so then the graphite brown, I think I'll pop that one this end. Okay, graphite red, graphite yellow, graphite blue, graphite green, graphite blue, graphite violet, graphite brown. That's quite interesting, isn't it? So now I'm going to do the same thing again with smaller ones, and I'll start from this end, I think, and make them a little bit more intense. This is a very nice relaxation exercise, I think. Yes, these paints are very strong. I read somewhere the other day that Kuretake started out as a manufacturer of Japanese calligraphy ink. So I think we can consider them to be a trustworthy maker of paint. Certainly if the golds are anything to go by. And I think I said, didn't I also, I think I said it yesterday, that I'm considering treating I don't need any more paints, but sometimes what you do need is a little bit of inspiration, and a new set of paint will set you off on a road of discovery that maybe otherwise you wouldn't have found. So I thought that was the grey. Hang on a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So green is next. What was I saying? I don't need any more paints. I can paint till the cows come home with what I've got. But I saw the set of 48 Kuretake pans like this. And what I like about that idea is that the pans are big, so you probably could use a wash brush or a mop brush with these pans, unlike with the tiny wee pans that you get for most paint sets. Even the Cotman and the Winsor & Newton, they're far too small to use with a big brush, or to even sort of use liberally. But these are big, and I can see that they would be indeed quite liberating. So now I'm starting to overlap the circles a bit. So you can see where you get two of the same colour overlapping, you get a third intensity there where they actually overlap, don't you? So I'm going to do another row. They seem to dry fairly quickly. I don't know whether that's because it's so humid here at the moment, or whether it's because the paper is a quick drying one. Or what, but anyway, once it is dry, which just about is there, you can go over and you can, yes, no, that's actually lifted it out. That wasn't quite dry enough. But if it is dry, you can get that third combination there. That one, because it wasn't quite dry, we're going to have a nice little bleed there. This paint is very strong. Very, very strong indeed. It's another little bleed there. Obviously, you could do all sorts of things with these paints. This is just a kind of swatching out to practice and see what we have got. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to do a bit of embellishing, and with, as like I said, with gold and that. So I'm trying to put a mixture of lighter and darker, so we'll get a sort of variety of surfaces. When you lose your round, don't you? Never mind. A variety of different colours that you can put the gold on, gold and whatever else. Have you noticed it's always easier to do one side of a circle than the other? The sort of muscle memory is all on one side. I'm trying to learn a way of getting that right-hand side as smooth as I seem to be able to get the left-hand side, but it's not easy. I'm not going to blame my brush. I don't think it's the brush, it's me. What was that? That was graphite blue, wasn't it? So violet next. Back here, pink. Maybe we'll put one up here where it's dry. There we are, and maybe we'll put one over here. I wonder how many more I should do. I don't know how many to overlap. I'm not sure. Maybe we should overlap one here. If only because it's quite fun to see the colours darken up where you overlap. Don't want to press too much or to play around with it too much though, because you disturb the paint underneath. Okay, now I had done this thing as a tryout for different circular designs and colours and things and so on and so forth. And I think the thing to do is to put in some vertical lines using a pen and just maybe bring the lines down, bring some lines down. And I'm thinking sort of neurographic. Am I thinking neurographic or am I thinking Zentangle? I'm not sure. But either way, I have this sort of idea that you could do this. And then once you start on this, you start to build up. And it just takes its own route, really. And one thing that you can do is you can fill in the spaces with circles, which is quite nice. Circles, ovals, spirals. Triangles joining together like that. Sort of makes you think of turtle shells or tortoise shells and all that sort of thing. Or you can do kind of petals around the outside of something. And then another row of circles. And then you can colour them in. I quite like that. The effect of colouring in these black circles is quite surprisingly good, actually. I don't know what I'm going to do when this gold pen runs out. It'll probably run out in the middle of this painting, knowing my luck. It's probably getting a bit low. I need to order some more. Luckily, they're not very expensive, so everybody can have one of these. Very lucky now, really, with all the things that we have that we, don't want in the world because of technology and so on. One of the things that we do have that is nice is this easy access to gold paint. We have these opportunities for doodling. can sort of balance out what you have on one side with something similar on the other side if you want. And then we can break into the circle. Oh, that's not dry. I'll leave that and correct that later. We can break into the circles. Let's see. With simple designs like that. And you just keep on building them up. Sometimes it's quite nice just to use a very light colour, and other times you can use like gold or black. This reminds me of sand dollars. Put some dots on. I think we'll put some gold in the centre of that one. Let me think. We could have, on these darker ones, you could have a darker colour. And then you come in again with the gold. I find when you put dark ink and then a gold ink on top, you get a kind of rich tapestry sort of effect. Looks a bit like embroidery, which is quite nice. Perhaps we'll do the same on this one. Lots of spirals. The spiral has, I must read a bit more about neurographic art, because the spiral is very important in the neurographic art world. I think it's got some sort of psychological symbolism or something that makes it very satisfying. I don't know if you've ever tried this paper, this etcher paper, but this one they call hot press, but it's not like what we normally consider hot press to be, which is very smooth. This is much more like cold press, and I think you can get it on Amazon. I'm pretty sure you can. So I'd suggest it's a good one for this. It's quite nice to use for this kind of meditative process. It works well, in other words, and the pens actually show up, because I think we need to go over that. On some rougher paper, you'll have a hard time making, especially the white pen, which really, really needs a smooth surface for it to actually show up on. These white pens are great, but you have to treat them nicely and mustn't press too hard. And we can do some lines like that, for example, too. You hardly see them really, but they all kind of contribute. And that's what happens when you press too hard. You lose your flow. something that happens frequently around here. Let's do some, what shall we do up here? Whatever you can think of, really, is what you want to do. I said this before, but I'll say it again. The thing is, with doing this kind of thing, you are not striving to make something look like something. Even when you do a whimsical painting of, let's say, a bird or a cat or something, there's always a little bit of you that wants it to look like a cute cat. Obviously, you do. So even if you're fairly relaxed about it, you're still going to have a bit of pressure on yourself. Oh, it doesn't look cute enough. You know, I mean, I do that all the time. I've got a box full of cats, especially teddy bears, that aren't cute enough, you know, not cute enough. But when you're doing something like this, you're not aiming at or for anything. You're just, the only pressure you have when you're doing something like this is to try to remember all the neat things that you want to include in your painting. That's where I come unstuck. I'm like, oh, I could have done that. I forgot about that particular move, you know. So on this one, I'm going to do some and then excitement builds. I'm going to colour that in with which one? Graphite, red, yellow, green, blue, violet. What about violet? That's nearly black, isn't it? So we'll colour those shapes in. I'm using a number 3. This is a Draw Well Maestro, but obviously any smallish brush will do. Or if you haven't got a brush, or if you want to do it instead using a brush pen or a Posca pen, something like that would work fine too for this. I could have used my brush pen. It would have probably been easier. But that's okay. I have to give these paints a run for their money. And having done that, we need then to let it dry. And then I'm going to go over it with some lines as well. Yeah, that's ugly, isn't it? But it won't look so ugly once I've done the lines over it. Still got lots to do. We can do lines coming out from the centre. Looks like a sea anemone. That's one. And we could, what could we do? We could do a spiral in the center, like that, and then we could do lines going out with dots on the ends. And maybe circles in between. Let's switch to gold. What we could do, we could do shapes like that. That blue with gold on it is rather nice, isn't it? I wonder how, say for example, this red, because I did those embroidery ones on there. I wonder how this one would look if we did a kind of rose. And then perhaps we went over it with gold. That's quite nice. Perhaps we do another one here. And you can go over the edges of your circles. Once you get to this point, you're likely to do that by accident anyway. So you might as well do it on purpose, I suppose. We could do a white one. I'll tell you what, we could do that. What else can we do? Perhaps we should do one of those, but in gold. Do that over here. Okay, and that's a good excuse for getting into my gold KURETAKE paints, which, as I said, sometimes they need a bit of waking up, but I did use them yesterday, so they're not too bad. And we made that quite nice and thick so that it goes over. And then, you know, everything should be done in threes. So we will need to do another one of those over here, probably. I don't know whether white will, I don't think white will work. So I think we'll have to do that one in gold as well. And maybe... And the good thing about doing something like that is that you can cover up anything that you don't like that you've done. And then I thought this looked quite good when I tried it out yesterday and did just, I don't know what you'd call those, scallops, or I don't know what they are, sort of springs, I think I'll call them, over the black. Like that. And you can do them in gold over gold, which will just give a kind of texture and make them go over the edges I'm pretty sure this pen is going to give up on me any minute now, which will be somewhat irritating. But I'm used to being irritated, it's okay. We will survive. So our design is developing. We could have in gold up here, we could have little lines coming out from this edge one, like that, for example. And we can also, of course, add more spirals in spaces where we think, oh, I could pop a little spiral in there and that might look like a nice little rose. And then another thing that you can do naturally is you can come back with your pink. So I was meaning into this one, and you can put little design using your small brush, perhaps just dots around the outside edge, or anything that you feel like painting in the same colour as you have underneath, so you can practice doing fine lines. Most of the things that we're doing here will really stand you in good stead for other paintings that you do, because you're practicing water control, brush control, paint control. The only thing we haven't done anything of is mixing, but I didn't really want to mix these paints at this point because I wanted to give them the chance to stand alone, really, and see what colours they actually make. We could do, okay, we could do on this pink one back at the back here. We could do something like that. And then we can take our gold pen and, starting from the center, just come out in between those strokes and put some dots on the end, something like that. And, well, we could just carry on forever, really, couldn't we? Let's have some stems coming down on these ones. We need a few more stems, I think. And one coming down from the top there, so we'll do some gold ones. And we'll have some little leaves going up. Another good opportunity to practice your leaf shape drawings. And could have a gold vein inside the black leaf, or we could have a gold leaf with a black vein. Let me think. We could have on this one, maybe we could do a, I find that hard to do, but a kind of yin and yang thing, perhaps with sort of 6 design there. I always find this a very difficult, I don't know why, I find that hard to do. Perhaps I'm not balanced enough. That's okay, I think. And we could have big leaves. On this one. You don't have to use pens. You could easily use brush, what do you call them? Watercolor brush pens. You could use anything really, and it'd stop you using pencils even. I really quite like this pale colour with the white on it, don't you? I think that looks really nice, and we can develop that in other ways, in other paintings. Once we've discovered what this can do. I want to do something here. I'm going to do some rows of tiny circles. And for those of you who are sort of serious about wanting to learn to paint, you might think, oh, this is silly stuff, this isn't real painting. But actually, it is, because it will help you to use your imagination, and you need to do that, and to see how to make something balance without fretting about it, you know, just doing it. I think perhaps we might, where's my black? We might need a little bit more black over here. And then I'm going to try and find a smaller pen than the 5. This one, that's an 8, that's no good. Let's try this. I want to do a little bit more filling in with things like this, but I don't want it to be too dark. These ones, I think, looking at them now, I think they were a little bit too dark. And it's because I was using too thick a pen. So it'd be better to do these fill-in things with, this is 0.05. And even the leaves and things, they probably benefit from being done with a finer line like that. Especially for things like veins, you don't want them to be too fat. Okay, well, I've covered nearly all the circles. I'm going to leave a couple blank, like this one and that one, the ones that are behind. And, oh yes, I know, I was going to just go over that. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it's given you a moment of relaxation in your busy day. And hopefully you will have a go yourself. If you haven't got these colours, it doesn't matter, because anything could be used for this, really. Any pastel colours and any paper. It doesn't have to be anything special, because you're not actually giving it a real workout, are you? This is an easygoing painting with very little stress on the paper, so no problems. at all about what you choose to use. But the Etcher, oh, that one, I wonder if I should put something on there. I didn't do anything on there, did I? The Etcher paper is good. And this, they did send me this. This was because I use one of their what do you call it? Sketchbooks as well. And they've sent me this paper too. They also sent me some greetings cards and envelopes as well, which we might use a bit later on. But I do recommend this. It's nice. It's nice paper. There we go. I'm going to stop there and call it a day. See you on Patreon or on the membership if you're interested. Give us a like and subscribe if you'd like to see more of this. There's always something coming along, and look forward to next time. So I'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Bye for now. Bye-bye.